Hello and welcome to Smart Mortgage Insights. I'm Mandy LaRose.
And I'm Conor Lavinka. Today, we're going to talk to you about one of our favorite partnerships, and that's Alaska Housing Finance Corporation, our local lender here, investor in the state of Alaska. Their mission is to provide Alaskans with safe, quality, and affordable housing. Mandy?
Well, first of all, let me tell you about the acronym AHFC.
We're going to say that a lot.
Right?
AHFC.
Yes,
AHFC.
absolutely. We use a lot of acronyms around here, but AHFC is what they're known. It's what we call them around here. And AHFC, like Connor said, they're a great partnership with us here at Residential Mortgage and with Alaska companies. They're basically most people probably know them for being first-time homebuyer program. A lot of people use them for their first-time buyer loan program, but they have lots of other programs that are available for them as well. Some great things about Alaska Housing is they have local servicing. They post their rates on a daily basis through the weekday. Their fees are standard across the board for anyone that's going to be getting a loan, depending on if you're a first-time home buyer or what type of loan you're going to get. And they also have some other great benefits as far as some lower interest rates when you are a first-time home buyer, or depending on where your income sits and family size, could potentially even get lower interest rates as well. So they do partnership with us and have some really great opportunities for us to use their programs as well.
Awesome. They have a lot of really, really great programs that, as Mandy says, they're very specific. Alaska Housing is primarily geared to primary residences. They are not in a position to help you become a real estate investor or build a real estate empire. They're in the business to help you get into affordable housing. Like, for instance, one of their most popular programs is a program called First Home Limited. And First Home Limited is specifically a first-time homebuyer program, but it is less than the typical first-time homebuyer program in that it is tax-free. So they use basically tax-free bonds to fund the program.
So you don't pay taxes?
You still have to pay taxes.
Okay.
You still have to pay
Just
taxes.
checking.
However, you get a break on the interest rate. It does come with income limits, and it comes with acquisition limits. So the maximum price that you could buy for a home, it is limited, but it really, really helps you out because it gives you a much lower interest rate.
Absolutely. And the income limits are very generous.
They are.
The sales price limits are very generous as well. So like an acreage, a 1 to 2 person family, income limits is around 119, 120, somewhere in there. Sales price of around 509,000. That just actually went up. So these are pretty generous numbers that they give, and the interest rate can be, a point, if not even more, lower than what the going rate is for someone who's not a first-time home buyer, if you fit under those limits as well. If you don't fit under those limits and you are a first-time home buyer, they have another program which also gives you a lower interest rate, not quite as low as the first program that Connor was talking about, but the next program that they have, they do not have income limits or sales price limits, so you can still get a lower interest rate than what you'd get on the regular market using Alaska Housing. But you would not be restricted to any kind of income limits or sales price limits or anything like that. If you are a first-time home buyer, or maybe someone who hasn't been in the market in a long time, Alaska Housing also offers a first-time home buyer class or a purchasing class, and it's a 6-hour class. It's free for you to take, and they will give you a credit of up to $250 on the Alaska Housing commitment fee that Alaska Housing charges if you take that class. They offer in-person classes, online classes. It's an excellent class to take. It really is. Even if you bought a home many years ago, it's just going to give you a great overview of what kind of programs are available, what Alaska Housing has to offer you, and maybe also just put some things into your mind that you might not have thought of before as well.
One thing I wanted to stop and define is, what is a first-time home buyer?
Yeah, I guess we should talk about that.
And we kind of throw that term around a lot. And, from the sound of it, you say, oh, first-time home buyer, never bought a home. Actually, a first-time home buyer is a purchaser that has not owned a principal residence for the preceding 3 years. So you could have bought a home and sold a home, 5, 10 years ago. You can now restart and use first-time home buyer benefits. So just wanted to really emphasize that if you have owned a home, you can use a first-time home buyer again.
Another example of that also is I'm actually doing a loan in process right now with some clients that they have owned a home since 2007 in another state. They never actually lived in that home. And even if they had lived in that home, that's okay. But they haven't actually ever even lived in that home. They've been renting it out the entire time. They have not owned a home that they as a
Not a
primary
primary residence.
residence. Exactly. They've been living with family for the last several years. So they are now coming up here and they will be buying. They'll be using the first time home buyer program because they have not owned a primary residence in the last 3 years. So a little caveat there to a first time home buyer program as well.
Definitely. And so to extend on a little bit with first-time homebuyer programs, they even also offer something called an interest rate reduction for low-income borrowers. Another acronym we use, ERLIB. And depending on your income, they basically use average area median income, we call AMI. And depending on where you land with the size of your family in reference to that AMI, you can actually get an interest rate reduction off of the first time limited of 0.5%, even up to 1 full percent. So this becomes stratospherically better than any other product out there in the industry.
Absolutely. There are some limitations with that program that we will go over with you as a borrower, but some great opportunities for somebody with if you are sitting with a little bit lower income and think, hey, I could never buy a house. There's definitely some opportunities out there for you.
Definitely. And to kind of continue on how Alaska Housing takes care of you in the future, if and when interest rates go down, they're down,
They're
right,
good.
Mandy?
I'm
Okay.
just sure of it. Yeah.
Interest rates are going to go
Yeah.
down. As we're recording this, they're a little bit higher than we would like them to be. We're at the mercy of the market, but they have a great program, which is a streamlined refinance program. So when that time comes, they are going to help you get into a lower interest rate loan, really better than anyone else. It will be a lot less, painful, if you will,
Absolutely. Generally with
less
the
fee.
yes, generally with the streamline refinance, they don't require income qualification. They don't require an appraisal to be done. We are gonna make sure that you've made your payments on time for the last 12 months. But other than that, it's not really too much detail that goes into it. You get a lower payment, you get a lower interest rate, and that's the way it goes with the streamline refinance. So definitely some good opportunities with that program also. The other thing too is if you are going to buy using Alaska Housing, maybe you're going to purchase a condo or something. So Alaska Housing, they have their own condo approval list. And what that means is generally when you're buying a condo, depending on the type of financing that you're getting, that condo needs to be approved for that type of financing. So with Alaska Housing has an Alaska Housing condo approval list, and we will check that, make sure it's on the list. And if you are, then you're good to go to move forward with Alaska Housing financing for that particular project as well.
The other thing is Alaska Housing really has pioneered the energy efficiency rating since 1992. So not only they don't want you to get into a home, they want to get you into an efficient home. So you're not going to be burdened with really high utilities. And so one of their requirements is they want to see an energy efficient rating. And it's a sliding scale. These days, it's approximately a 5-star or better. But since the scale started in 92, I believe they started at a 2 or a 3-star. And as it got older, we got a little bit higher rating. And then we also wanted to see a certificate of occupancy, commonly called the PR 101 and the PR 102. So in order to make sure your property is eligible for Alaska Housing financing, we will need to verify that you have those two documents. Realtors in Alaska are very familiar with these documents, as are we, and so we can help you get them in there. even if they're not, we can actually help you make the property Alaska housing financeable by getting an energy rating and getting a certificate of occupancy.
Absolutely, especially if you're going to be doing like a new construction loan, something like that. Um, hmm, any property built after 92 will need to show that that you have that energy rating. So it'll be really important if you are doing a new construction loan that you make sure that you get that done as well. One other thing, and I know we've just kind of been firing on this podcast here of details, but one other thing I want to mention as well when it comes to new construction with Alaska Housing, they have a very generous lock period. And so with Alaska Housing, you can lock a new construction for basically an initial 30 days, and then from there another 180 days. And then from there, you can actually get 30-day extensions. So you can almost be locked into an Alaska Housing loan for a year while you're building that property, and feel comfortable that whatever rate you are at, whatever that might be, that that's where it's going to be staying. So.
Couple of the things that we wanted to mention, they care deeply about our veterans as well. And so they have a program called the Veterans Mortgage Program, short VMP is what we call it. And provided that you have completed your first tour of duty, and or you have been out of the military for less than 25 years, you can qualify for this rate, which again is going to be significantly better than any other rate out there on the open market.
Absolutely. It's a great program as well.
The last program that we really wanted to touch on is going to take an entire podcast, and that is the renovation program. The renovation program is one of a kind. It is absolutely amazing, but there's a ton of details with that, so we don't want to burden you with all of that this episode. We will definitely give you more details about that at a later time.
Excellent. Well, I think that covers fast, rapid fire of Alaska Housing today.
Awesome. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. This podcast is sponsored by Residential Mortgage, LLC, NMLS numbers 167729, 196, 576, and 1820404. Equal housing lender.